Good morning. I say good morning because this is the very earliest recorded cross from Just with Mr. Grant Downie. Grant, welcome, Head of Performance at Manchester City. As always, you have a few questions, and the very first question is, what is that in fact a Head of Performance?
My role at Manchester City is looking after the performance of all the male players under 23, the women's programme and the young girls programme. So my job is to look after the medical staff, the strength and conditioning staff, the performance analysis staff, psychology and sports science. So it's almost, if you think of what we call a four-corner model of technical, which is looked after by the head coach, and the other corners, which are the physical, the mental, they come under me. The social, which is more welfare, is led by somebody else. So I look after that aspect of it, and I have, in the capacity at Manchester City, approximately 25 full-time staff and about 25 part-time staff, ancillary staff.
Wow, it's a huge package of tasks.
Well, we are servicing and looking after 300 young players.
Young talented players.
Yeah, young talented players.
Okay. And how does a day look like in the world of a head of performance?
Starts earlier than this, so I'm used to getting up early in the morning.
Okay.
So my morning starts about 6. Basically for me to do a little bit of exercise to clear my mind. My day then starts really working about 7 o'clock with a breakfast catch up with some of the staff. And really my job is to be, I call it the helicopter. So I look above at all of our programs. I set the strategy with the head of coaching, the academy director, and it's my job to sense check, is it working? And sometimes it won't work. And so therefore it's me to be able to drop in and sense check, and yet at the same time empower the staff to do their job. So I'm not the one who says this is how it must be done. There are too many operations to oversee them all. Okay. But I have to be able to set the strategy of what we're trying to achieve and then empower others to help achieve it.
Interesting. And how does one become an HP, a head of performance, a helicopter pilot?
I think what you've got to do is have a background of varying experiences. So I was fortunate enough before I've been at Manchester City 6 years now, and in that time at Manchester City already I've done almost 3 jobs. I came to look after the medical department of the academy. I then had, because of staff changes at the first team, I was asked by the club to go and oversee the first team for a while. Then I came back to this head of performance role. But before that, I spent 25 years working in elite sport, first of all as a physiotherapist. So my profession is a physiotherapist, but eventually I became more of a manager of teams. So I think your background can be medical, it could be psychology, it could be strength and conditioning, but what you've got to do is have a varied experience. And I think it's important you've spent some time, particularly in the academy, working with first teams. I know what the finished product needs to look like. I also know what it doesn't need to look like. Yeah. And I think having seen that, you can then see where sometimes a 12-year-old boy may be going wrong. Okay.
Talking about the first team, what is the role of role models? I think, for instance, our Red Devils, of course, Vince the Prince and King Kev.
I think role models are vital. If you think about our own, it's difficult for, maybe I'm now 55, but you still sometimes, as I say, I have to take my glasses off and put my glasses on for a 12-year-old boy. My heroes were Kenny Dalglish and Kevin Keegan.
Sure.
And therefore I looked at them, and everything they did I wanted to copy. Okay. So therefore children are no different today. They will look at everything Vincent does and want to copy it. So one of the strategies we try to do in our academy, once a year Vincent has been fantastic at coming to speak to the young boys about what it takes to be a professional player. Great. One message from him once a year is probably worth 300 from you.
Absolutely.
And so therefore using it is vital. We use it, and Vincent is a great role model, great representation of the club, but from where he's from, of how to be a professional player.
He's a captain in all aspects.
You have to be a captain on and off the pitch, not just on the pitch.
Interesting.
And he's a captain off the pitch too.
Interesting. When we go off the pitch, do you benchmark with colleagues, with other youth academies?
I think you try to do it, but every academy has a different aspiration. So if you think about it, coming through the Manchester City Academy, our first aim is to try and get players who could play in the semi-final for Champions League. Now, that's a high benchmark.
Absolutely.
If you're maybe playing for Middlesbrough, where I previously worked, you're trying to produce players who can survive in the Premier League. It's a different standard. But you do benchmark. You look at how you try to achieve things. You also try to be a little bit innovative and have some of your own ideas. Some of them won't work. You've got to be brave to try them. Ultimately, we want our young players to be the best they can, but at the same time try and remain a humble, good human being. And in the modern world of football, that's easier said than done. But at the same time, we believe they have a responsibility back to society. So when I see, and I met a coach last week with one of our young players who's playing for Reading now. And Reading, as you know, last night won their playoff to get to the final. And this is one of our young players, and the first thing he said to me, the young player knows how to behave, he conducts himself properly, it's a credit to your club. That is important.
Okay, good. And when we talk about young players, we also talk about female young players. Absolutely, never forget.
And again, we are in a position where our male academy has been established for a number of years. The female academy has only been in operation 1 year, so it's new, but we now we've had a full-time team for the ladies for, this is the 3rd season. We have a development team, which is under 23s, but we also now have an under 10, under 12, under 14 and under 16, and it's fantastic to see young girls training beside young boys. I think this can have a great benefit for their health for the long term, as well as hopefully being aspirational to be top.
For their own personal and social development.
Exactly.
Interesting. What struck me when I visited Manchester years ago was the bridge.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate?
Yeah. What we've tried to do, the way we built the training facility, every pitch is almost joined, and the building is in 2 halves, but it's joined together. There is a bridge between, as you say, the academy, the first team, but there's also a bridge from the academy stadium to the main stadium. And really, this is part of what we call our journey. So players will go from one pitch to the next pitch to the next pitch, and hopefully one day go and play in the main stadium. Now, we're realistic. We're never going to get 15, 20 young players regularly playing in our first team. The standard is too high. However, they can go and play for the City Football Group, they could go and play for other clubs and hopefully have a good career. And those who don't make it, maybe one day, my aspiration would be for one of them to come and do my job.
Okay, good.
Because with their experiences in life and what they've been through the academy, they really know what it is like to be a scholar.
Yeah, okay. Again, a good example of the fact that football has more than 2 goals.
It must have more than 2 goals. I think we forget football was set up to be an aspirational for a young person from Manchester. However, we are now global, so it should be from anywhere in the world can play on that big stage. But we have a responsibility back to the society that we educate them to realise they are representing people.
So there are many bridges. Interesting. Thank you so much for this interview, and wishing you a nice day in Brussels.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. So this was it. Cross from Just. See you next time. Bye-bye.